From the time that I was a little kid, I just was in love with restaurants, and I was lucky enough to grow up in a restaurant. I guess that's where I got the bug. But everybody in my family had restaurants, everything from diners to drive-ins to my parents had a barbecue restaurant for 37 years in Capitol Hill. And there was something about the creative aspect. I'm a very creative person, and I loved the idea of putting foods together and coming out with something that was really delicious. So I actually would beg from the time that I was really little to go on Saturdays and spend the whole day out there with my father. I think a lot of us forget the fact that back in the 60s, Oklahoma City had two really great restaurants. One was called Jacques and the other was called Hightower. And as a little kid, I was so focused on restaurants and cooking that I made my way to both of those restaurants. And they would set a bar for me because it wasn't sort of everyday fare. It was definitely elevated. But what really set the bar for me was when Julia Child came on television in '63, and I just became the biggest fan, and I watched every single program, and I made all that food. I got my copy of Mastering the Art of French Cooking when I was 12 years old, and I cooked through that. So I understood a lot about what the whole world of cuisine really embraced. It's not just Oklahoma, but our whole country and perhaps our whole world that is struggling with this obesity epidemic. And I think it really relates to one thing in particular, and that has to do with processed food. We have a lot of calories available to us for really cheap. They're not good calories, but they're available to us. And as in our country, we are really thinking about how to get food cheap all the time. The quality of that food has deteriorated. Yes, it's cheaper, but it's not great quality food. I think it's very sad when I come back and I see that all of the highways around here are lined with chain restaurants. And I see people coming out of some of the big box stores and so forth with just piles of salty snacks and pop, and it's just there. I feel really sad when I come back here and I see that that's what people are really consuming, and it's obvious because you see a lot of overweight people here, and there's such good food that is really the underpinnings of what Oklahoma was all about. And of course, I think we can say flat out, there is not any contest to this, that the obesity problem is costing us a fortune in this country in terms of health care. The best food is the most satisfying food. And we've got this equation completely wrong in our heads, that we think when it tastes really good that we're going to eat much more of it. No, that's the opposite. When it doesn't satisfy you with like the real quality of real food, that's when you just keep eating it and eating it and eating it, because your body's actually looking for real nutrients. We have to at some point just simply wake up to that and say we need to counteract that by eating more fruits and vegetables. I know it sounds like I'm a nutritionist, but I'm just stating simple fact that it's about eating more fruits and vegetables, less fried food, less processed food, less sugary beverages. You hear it all the time, but it's the simple truth. When you've got real food, you eat a smaller amount of it and you feel incredibly satisfied, and it sticks with you. I am really thrilled that there is a movement starting on the other side to bring whole foods back into our diet. But now, not only do we have to get those ingredients to a broad audience, but we have to teach them how to cook those ingredients, because in the last 2-3 generations, we've actually forgotten how to cook in this country. I know that everything is all about how cheap you can make the basic necessities of life, your clothing, your food, all of that, so that we can spend more of our money on basically throwaway goods. I mean, all this stuff that we consume all the time and feel like that we have to consume. Maybe we need to take some of that money that we're spending on disposable stuff and invest it in something that's actually going to be more valuable to us as human beings in the long run, which I would say is my health. That's one of the reasons that I choose to eat quite simply. I wrote a book on this once, just that in every place in the world, people eat whole foods really simply during the week. And then on the weekends, people feast. There's none of this good food, bad food, anything like that. We eat simply during the week, we feast on the weekend, and we eat anything we want. And those cultures are usually the healthiest cultures out there. That's what I feel like that we need to go back to. We don't need the fat-free, non-dairy, hot fudge sundae on Wednesday night, because that confuses us. The hot fudge sundae should be full bore, real deal, hot fudge sundae on Saturday. I am a huge believer in all food is good food, and I eat everything. Again, I will say that I eat really simply during the week, and I really love to feast on the weekend, and I never think anything of it. And I would say you can sort of look at me and tell that it works.